What's up, buddy?
How you been, brother?
Not bad. Not bad. It's deer season is here and I'm fired up. We've been talking about doing a catch-up session. You and I haven't really sat down and caught up in a while. So how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I've been in a tree a couple of times. Our season opened in the management units of 2B and 5C and 5D in Pennsylvania, which is the areas around the city of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. So I've had a 2-week head start. Unfortunately, it's been really hot most of that time. I've had a couple of cool evenings that I could get out with work. I mean, I think the last week or so has been decent, but trying to balance all that with work and everything. But did manage to get out twice, got some of the cobwebs knocked off and getting dialed back in to what I'm doing. Fortunately, or unfortunately, however you look at it, I didn't have any deer bothering me while I was getting back in the groove. So got to concentrate on that.
No. So how many times have you been out?
Twice.
Twice, and no deer either time.
Nope. Saw a couple of does going in last night when we were setting up, and tried to go as quietly and slowly as possible because they didn't seem like they were too spooked, but they must have been heading for somewhere good to eat because we never saw them.
Gotcha. Were you out there with Chris?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
we have a suburban landowner that we help out. He's got a pretty bad deer problem, which you wouldn't know it last night. But now, normally we take about a half dozen does off of his property every year, and he's real appreciative of that. And we share the meat and donate some and try to help out as much as we can, because that's part of what we're trying to do with the whole bag of tricks here and the whole mission.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I think good for you for getting out there and trying to help the landowner out. I'm coming around on the whole high deer population, monitoring the does, managing the does like our friend Hunter always talked about. The more you pay attention to that, you really see browse lines and camera surveys and things that show there is a high population. So good for you for helping him out. I know that's pretty awesome. I'll tell you a little story Corey and I did a couple weeks ago too. But how about the cobwebs? Did you knock the cobwebs off? Was it smooth? Because right now, buddy, all my stuff is not ready for tomorrow. It's 4 p.m. I like the cobwebs are going to be thick this weekend. I'm telling you, I'm kind of nervous about it, to be honest with you.
So my only advice is to try to stick with what you know and what works for you, because every year it seems like I try to tell myself that, but then I end up, oh, look at this new piece of gear. Oh, I wonder if I add this to the mix. And no matter how many times you mess with it over the summertime, until you're putting it all together in the woods, it never comes together. So I thought I was going to try to hunt without a pack for the early season. I bought that new muddy harness that has the pockets on it, and it's fantastic. It carries a lot of stuff and eliminates the need for that. But as well as I do, we're trying to do a YouTube show. We're trying to take pictures for social media, and I'm carrying a GoPro and a regular camera. I've got a Tacticam, and I've got my phone, and then all the mounts for all those different things. And it's just, you're trying to do so much. And then if you're a guy that likes to have like an Ozonics like I do, and I take a bow holder, and I like to be comfortable up there. I like to have everything where I feel comfortable and not have to move around too much in the tree once I get everything set. So I'm sticking with the pack, and I went back to what I was doing on the second hunt that I normally do, and it worked out fine.
So does it take you, like, are you finally set up in your tree by like noon with all that stuff?
It's not too bad. No, it
totally kidding.
Running and gunning is, you know how that goes. You're trying to get sticks and a stand set up, and plus all your gear, and a lot different than when we're down the lease and hunting a preset stand or on another piece of property or your own property that you have set stands. So
yeah,
just have to roll with it. And then dealing with the warmer temperatures and sweating your butt off, getting all that stuff set up. Everybody knows the struggle.
Yeah, you're almost making me just want to sleep in and not really deal with it. No, I totally kid. I'm too jacked up to ever do that. I think yeah, I need to get out there, like you said, dust cobwebs off, get back in. I'm gonna try to shoot a doe or two right off the bat if I can. I got a couple properties around here that I try to help out on as well. And my friend Brian Doobie, his property's loaded with those. I think we're gonna go out to his place tomorrow night. Um, and then I got a 40-acre lease up the road that is, like I told you before, like 39 acres of corn and a bunch of does out there, but got the corn already. So we'll see how that works out. But no, Corey invited me out. We went out to a farmer the morning of that field to fork hunt. We went out to a farmer that Corey knows and I think we had five of us out there and all had the 450s and 350s all in hand and the crop damage permits and um ended up whacking. I think we took 7 that morning.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. There's so many deer, but just helping that farmer out. He's got these certain permits that are fillable whenever because they're
Sure.
in a suburban area, like you're saying.
Yep.
It's a little bit different than your standard crop permit, and it was just crazy. It was so I dusted the barrel off a little bit, and that felt really good. But now that we're here, I'm fired up. I got some hunting beast climbing sticks I gotta get together here, and I picked up a new saddle from Latitude Outdoors. I'm gonna try their saddle, the 2-piece, see how that goes. So just screwing around, like you, just trying to be more efficient and get my system down and get very efficient with it. Like I said before, my climber system back in the day, I have like spots where I hang my backpack and my bow holder. Like it's all fine tuned.
Right.
I haven't spent a lot of time trying to fine tune the saddle system fully yet. So hopefully that'll be my goal this year, where I can just walk into any woods, anywhere, any property and shimmy up a tree, no matter what, and just hunt mobile, forever. At least as much as I can. Cause the first sits have always been dynamite usually. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the importance of that first sit and staying mobile. We see it all over. Everybody that we had on the show, all the big time hunters, whether it's Dan Infalt or uh, Mike Perry or any of those guys that are into the mobile hunting, it's just they get it done. I mean, our buddy Dan Infalt just shot a giant slipping back in there in the swamps, and I got to watch that video last night. My goodness, what a buck!
yeah.
But yeah, the proof's in the pudding for sure.
Yeah, congrats, Mr. Dan Infalt. That's a Wisconsin slob right there.
No doubt.
So like I said, we're just catching up here, kind of a little. We always do this annual goals podcast before season, kind of what you're expecting of the year and what do you think happened last year? How were your goals hit? Let's not dwell too much on last year, but like what? How do you think we checked all of our boxes or left a lot on the table in terms of hunting?
Well, I like to think that there's always room for improvement, no matter what. And fortunately, I don't think I can go any further to the bottom than last year with 4 tags going on field. But yeah,
Make
I
me spit
mean,
my drink out here. Come on.
no, I put a lot of pressure on myself last year, and I'm not surprised that I did that. Being that you have 4 tags and what we're doing with the podcast and everything else, and trying to keep this going through hunting season, you got that pressure, and then trying to balance family time and getting time in the woods. It's just I think we can kind of learn from that for sure, trying to get back. And I said it in that late season video I put out last year on our YouTube channel, just about slowing down and just enjoying the day, the hour, the minute that you're out there. Just take it all in and don't put too much pressure on yourself. I mean, easier said than done, but that's definitely a goal of mine, something that I hope to learn from last year.
Great point. I think it's a good lesson to keep in mind this season for everybody. We're blessed to be out there doing what we're doing. So getting caught up in the moment. I'm with you though. Like you got 4 tags in all these states. I had 3 tags, or well, 4 if you count the 2 in Michigan. 3 of those never got filled. So it's like I get it. I get it. It's but like moving forward to this year, how has that changed for you? Like what goals do you have this year so far?
Well,
I know you've been working very hard at the lease. Like you've been down there like a bunch on the Ohio test farm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, habitat wise, for the first year of just trying to get some stuff scratched out for what we had to work with, I'm extremely happy with what we were able to get accomplished there. I mean, there's deer in there every night. We've got some really nice bucks daylighting in some of those food plots. It's a testament to killer food plots and what Nick puts the time and effort into those blends. The deer really like what he's got going on, and just super happy with how those are all turned out.
Yeah, I know. If I lived a little bit closer, you get a couple of those daylight pictures. Should be down there, and there's
Yeah.
there, but we know a little bit better. We know what the wind's doing. We know that they have our number. So we're trying to be careful on how we do that with that bedding area that you talked about with me the other day. Yeah, that hopefully all your hard work will pay off for one of the lease members. Hopefully you, obviously, and because you've been converting the sea container Camp Tin Can into a 5-star hotel. I mean, the food plots look good. Stands are hung, cameras are out. Just waiting for a little cooler weather myself personally. But you guys
Yeah.
put in the time down there for sure already.
Yeah. Moving forward, I want to move some cameras over to some scrapes. We found a few scrapes in the off season scouting in the spring, but not as many as I thought we would have found. And, it's so thick down there. We didn't get into every nook and cranny, but
Right.
I think some of these sits going forward, if we're careful with our wind and our access, we'll figure out how these deer are using the property. We've already got a pretty good idea with the cameras, but yeah, it's going to be time to start focusing in on these scrapes and where these bucks like to be for the end of October and come up with a plan here.
For sure. That's like the toughest part is figuring out where they're bedding, because it's not like there's a huge swamp out back and you're like, hey, okay, they're in the swamp. I'm okay to move around here on the way to my stand and this and that. Those suckers could be sitting right up by the road watching where we park, right?
Sure.
Like when I was down there on the lease and seeing all the undulation and different parcels that are connected, and the roads kind of winding around them and through them, makes our access pretty awesome, pretty bulletproof. Um, but like that north piece, and that's where some of those bucks are daylighting. I'm wondering where the heck are they bedding, because it is thick in there. And are they watching us come in? Are they not? Should we circle around back? It's that sort of puzzle pieces that are kind of fun to put together. You just don't want to blow it out too early, trying to figure that out too early, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And as far as that north piece goes, it's hard to believe there's even rack bucks getting into that spot because it's so thick. I mean, multiflora rows, tangles, and it's just insane. But there's a few good trails through there, and there's a little bit of a elevation change there. And I've noticed on the north winds and some of the northwest winds, it kind of sets up perfect for them to lay on the edge of that ridge with the wind coming to their back, like Dan Infalt talks about, and other guys that talk about hill country bedding. So they're definitely reading the script and kind of doing what we think they're going to do. It's just a matter of access and us being disciplined.
Yes, sir. So where else are you hunting this year? You have Pennsylvania, you got 1 buck tag in PA, right?
Yep, 1 buck tag in PA and 1 in Ohio for right
Okay.
now. So
Keeping it simple for now.
yeah, we're going to concentrate on that. And there's always other opportunities. We're very blessed to have friends all over the country and constantly have invites pretty much anywhere we want to go. So, but I'm not going to put that much pressure on myself. I'm going to try to fill a buck tag at home in PA and get it done. Hopefully the deer I hit in Ohio will stay down and I'll be able to put a tag on it, unlike last year.
Oh, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. Have you messed with your arrow setup at all? I know you're shooting a different broadhead now.
Yeah, yep. We went to the Afflictor, fixed blade K2, 125 grain. I was shooting mechanicals prior to that. They were 100 grain mechanicals. So it's kind of fun to go back to a fixed blade. It takes me back to my early days of slinging the Muzzy 125s at everything and knocking everything down from every angle. So now, just all joking aside, we'll still wait for uh, ethical shots and
Sure.
try to make the best we can. But very impressed with our testing of the afflictors and the testimony from our friends at Exodus and some of the videos we've watched on the Afflictor YouTube channel. Just looking forward to putting it to work myself.
Yes, sir. So you have 2 buck tags. Your goal: knock a solid deer down, fill out one of the two at least. How many does are you going for this year? How much freezer space do you have? Because who knows? There could be a meat shortage, right? I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen? But yeah, the chest freezer's getting a little bit low. Um, Plenty of room in there for 2 more deer for sure. Then I've got a smaller freezer on top of a fridge here in the garage also. And this year I reached out on Facebook and asked anybody if they knew any families in need. I'm going to take one of those deer and pay for the processing and everything and deliver it myself. And I actually had a couple families reach out to me. So I'm really excited about that. I mean, my processor here in town does the farmers helping the hungry, I think is it's called. And that's nice. It's great they do that. I've donated deer through that many times, but you never see where it goes. You
Right.
never see the results. And this is kind of nice to actually be able to deliver it to somebody that you could actually look in their eyes and see that you're making a difference somewhere.
Yeah, that's a great goal. I'm glad you brought that up. Um, there's a lot of people out here who, the whole finding your own food movement and knowing where it comes from and all that is popular over the past probably decade or so. And like that Field to Fork program, we were able to get all those hunters their first deer. They've been eating it, telling me how good the jerky was. We donated those 7 deer to Sportsmen's Against Hunger. But like you said, it's not like you're really seeing where the meat goes unless you're, with that person personally, which is cool.
Sure. Yeah. So we haven't caught up on that very much since you guys were at. Walk us through how all that went. I know you guys were successful.
Yeah, yeah. We recorded that whole kind of podcast series on it. Started with Chad Thalen and Brad Harper in the deer blind at back 40. Then we went and talked with you and I talked with Mark Kenyon about it on another recent episode. I think Corey and I interviewed Hank Forrester about it. So we've been trying to get some coverage on that to keep this thing, rolling downhill in terms of get more people to help volunteer, more areas to help start this Field to Fork. But it was really cool. It was very hot. But my guy's name, he was Clement was his name. He's a 51-year-old, has 4 or 5 boys. I know he at least 4, and wants to just get into hunting and be able to show them how to, go out there and get it yourself. So it was great. I sat with him and we were sitting there and this, sun finally dips below the trees. And I'm like, all right, start paying attention. He was paying attention the entire time, locked on. Me, I kind of know what's going on. So I sit back and relax for a few and wait till it gets closer to dark. And all of a sudden you hear the safety click off on my gun that he's holding. And I'm like, what in the world? And I look, I'm like, you see one? He's like, yeah. I'm like, where? Because I'm looking out in front of me. He's on my left side. I'm on the right. It's a 2-man ladder. Well, it came out on our left side, right where we thought it would. Thanks to our friend Chris, whose property we hunted. And I was like, all right. I got my phone out. I was going to videotape the shot so I knew how good the hit was. I was like, all right, hold on. Let me make sure it's a doe, not a button buck before you shoot, because it was a medium-sized doe. And I get the binos up. I'm looking at it. And I'm like, all right, yep, that's a doe. And I'm still looking at her. And I'm like, all right, take my face out of the binos, pull my phone back up. Before I could get my face out of the binos, wham! You know, he didn't waste any time. He
Good for him.
smoked her, and I kind of, oh crap, threw my phone up, watched her run away, and went and checked for blood. There was blood. He drilled her. So we sat there, had about 45 minutes till dark, and 5 or 6 more does came in. So he got to kind of see how they were acting. They were kind of starting to peg us. You know, I was gonna dish my ozonics this year because of how much bulk it is to carry, but they came in straight downwind, and we had the ozonics running, and you know, you can't beat a mature doe's nose. So I
Right.
don't know, more testament to those things. But he ended up drilling her. We waited, and Corey came out, and we had the photographer come out, videotape the recovery, and I assume you know, Meat Eater or NDA or Wired to Hunt or somebody's gonna come out with some of that footage, and
Yeah.
we'll get to see some of the hunters. It was awesome. We had 10 new hunters. I think 9 of them showed up, and I think again 7 of them took their first deer, and one guy took 2 deer.
Wow.
So a pile of venison hit the ground that night, and it was a long night getting everything, you know, drug out and showing people how to gut and everything else. But it was awesome. It was very, very cool. I look back at some of the pictures, and I'm smiling more than the guy who shot the deer.
Sure.
I mean, they told us that might be how it works, but it truly was pretty cool. And that guy who I mentored, Corey was supposed to mentor him, and I was just going to support, but Corey threw me in there. And the reason was he owns like 50 acres up north in northern Michigan, like less than a mile from our new family property
Oh, wow.
in the whole state of Michigan. Like, meet this guy randomly, and we're within, you know, a 2-track or a quad ride up north now.
Small world.
Small world.
Crazy.
So, yeah, it was cool. So that was fun, you know. Got to kind of check that box already, put my time in towards the NDA and towards helping. I try to do something every year, whether it's get a new friend of mine into hunting, or ice fishing is usually a good icebreaker, no pun intended, to get somebody in the outdoors. And
Sure.
I've been working. I got a couple buddies who are one in particular who's really took it up. My buddy Nick, he's fired up about it. So
Nice.
yeah, so I mean, that was kind of one of my goals, always is every year, and we got it done already. So I was pretty pumped about that.
Yeah. And I think I speak for everybody when I say thanks to you and Corey and everybody else at the NDA and Meat Eater, Wired to Hunt, everybody that was involved in that. That's an amazing thing. And not only did you guys have 10 plus new hunters, like you mentioned, the gentleman that went out with you's got 3 or 4 sons.
Yep.
You start adding hunters in those kind of numbers a little bit at a time, and the future looks really bright. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that.
Yeah. No, I don't deserve a huge thank you or anything. I think Corey and Hank really put the whole thing together. Corey just worked his tail off getting that whole thing, and I was just like the lucky one to go get to sit with a guy, but it truly was gratifying, you know. So I'd urge anybody who's interested, you know, shoot us a text or a message, and we can put you in touch with Hank. And he's looking to start these field to fork things for the NDA all over the place. So if you guys are ever thinking about it, it'd be a good thing to do. I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Well, before we get into your goals for Michigan and wherever else you're going, you tried to be real slick about that family property line that you threw in there, but I'm going to have to press you on that a little bit. What's going on there?
Busted. So I'll take it back. So long story short, my father-in-law and I purchased a 70-acre piece in northern Michigan, just recently closed a week ago. And we've been, so how it all kind of came about, I was thinking this spring, I'm thinking, you know what? And you guys have heard me mention it on the show. 15 acres is awesome. I've been there. I've done that. I've increased improved the habitat across the whole thing. Kind of running out of room to do more. I'm like, you know what? It's a good time to sell a property. I might consider selling it and see if there's anything around that would be a 40 maybe, or a 30 even, or maybe a 60. And I was fishing with my father-in-law, who doesn't fish. He was out on the boat with me fishing for walleye, and I was kind of telling him what I wanted to do, and he's like, "Well, I wouldn't mind looking into some land." I'm like, "Huh?" I'm like, "You don't hunt?" Oh, he does duck hunt. We do duck hunt together like once a year. But you know what I'm saying? He's not like
Sure.
totally obsessed like I am.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, it's weird. And he's like, well, it's a good investment, right? I'm like, always for sure. So that's kind of how the conversation got started. We started talking. We started out with some timber goals in mind, timber harvest, timber management type properties up north. You get a lot of sugar maple filled properties up there that produce a lot of income. Kind of started there. I think we saw, 10 to 15 properties. We made a couple trips up throughout the summer. It's a good ways up. It's like 3.5 hours for me and probably 4.5 for him. So we put the time in, checked out a bunch of stuff, and it was all super expensive. And some of them had seasonal roads. Some had, look like some neighbor issues. Some you couldn't even get to. And some were just, like I said, stupid expensive right now.
Right.
But we ended up, I was up there camping on our family camping trip, and I took a little drive around, and I found this piece that wasn't in any of the listings. So I called the agent, and we started talking, and he's like, "Yeah, it's for sale, but it has a conservation easement on it." And my first thought was, "Oh no thanks. I don't want anybody telling me what I can or cannot do with this property."
Right.
But the lack of listings and the fact that, we kind of wanted a family property where we can bring the wives and the kids up and the grandkids and go spend some time together instead of Jared's gone every weekend type thing, it's really intriguing to us to get something going quicker than that. So I started diving into that easement a little bit, and we'll probably dive into that a lot more on the podcast moving forward, since it's part of my life now. But long story short, kind of what Eric Long always said way back when he went and spoke in front of all those, bird watchers and people that may not be on the same page as us in a lot of ways in life. We do have a lot of the same goals. So this main goal of this easement was to prevent any erosion on the steep slope. So there's the south side of the property has a pretty steep elevation change from the road down into like a wetland area. It's kind of unique. And then the other thing is to protect the wetlands. A lot of places already protect wetlands. And so I started reading it, and the easement was just being put into place. It wasn't like it's been there for, the life of the property. So I had the opportunity to negotiate, if you will. So I spent countless hours on the phone with these guys over email, conference calls. I drew up a land plan, the whole thing on what my vision was. And then they had to take it in front of their board and kind of go through it. And I know everybody already is going, screw this, right? Way too much work. And it is work. But it's obviously something I'm extremely passionate about. So I didn't mind. And they ended up coming back and saying, you know what? That's like the best plan we've ever seen out of anybody who's ever submitted a plan. And I'm like, what? That's weird. Okay. Thank you, I guess. And you're like, you know what? Our goals are aligned. We'll give you food plots here. We'll give you wildlife cuts here, just like our land plans, right?
Sure.
Don't screw with the swamp, and it's actually just a creek that runs through. Water comes up from the ground and springs in that area and just forms a creek. It's the headwaters of a creek. And I'm like, I don't need to mess with that. That's fine. I don't need to go, clear cut the south facing slope on that property. And timber management still allowed through a forester through the state. So really I'm thinking, I think this might work.
Yeah.
And after some conversations, it's like a 22-page document now. We're on the same page. I have about a 10% ratio of food that's going to go into the 70 acres. I already called the forester before we closed. Like, like we talked about in the land plans, the first step usually is a forester.
For sure.
So I've already been on the phone with Hunter, and we're gonna get this thing going. So I'm excited. Unfortunately, I have not had a lot of time to breathe and even really think about it. We just closed. My kids are back to school. Everything's crazy here. So I haven't gotten up there to really relax and have a beer and watch the sunset and do that whole thing. But we're pretty excited about it. We're gonna build a little spot up there to stay, a little cabin or something over the years. There's about 4 acres that are excluded from the easement where you can do whatever you want with. That was originally 2, so I got that bumped up to 4. Room to play around and have fun. So
Yeah.
we're excited. It's in the northern, it's in Emmett County, Michigan. So if you hold up your hand, it's way up to the top. Is that the right side? Yeah. And then there are antler point restrictions in that county. So I'm even more jacked about that.
Sure.
They've been doing that for somebody will probably correct me on this 10 years or so. And it's proven to work up there. So they get a lot of snowfall. There's some ski areas nearby, so that's kind of cool because we all love to ski. But the snowfall is going to be interesting because it's kind of one of the spots in Michigan where they get the most snow in the lower peninsula. So the deer like migrate out like they do in the upper peninsula.
Okay.
And there's some guys up there that, including the listing agent, who are hunters, and they already know everybody, and they're excited to have another passionate deer hunting fool up there to, and I'm excited as well. So we're pumped up. We're pumped up. Just it's going to be a bunch of work.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a shoot ton of work there. It's going to be insane to carve out what my idea will be into the 70 acres. So,
well, congrats again on that.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to following along. Just like some of our other guests, it'll be nice to have another property in development, some of our other clients that we have. But yeah. And the hard work that you put in there, like you said, it was probably kind of a pain in the butt to work with them on that easement. But at the end of the day, your hard work paid off. And it's so interesting. Like when we talked to our buddy Jake from Exodus and his podcast with hearing the different ways guys manipulate land and buy land and how things work out in transactions, and Neil Hogger, some of his stories, just you've added to that now with another angle. If somebody comes across a property and said, hey, I heard Jared did this, and this might be able to work for me. So pretty cool, man. Congrats again. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do with it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, can't wait to get you up there and get the old podcast team up and do our annual review or something. I don't know. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So if I mean, like I said, my first thought on the easement was no way. And since then I've changed on that. So I know another guy down here who has a property within an easement that I found out before buying this. He's like, it's not a big deal at all. It's really not. There's, certain things I can and cannot do, but I'm a deer hunter. I'm a turkey hunter. There's awesome deer in Turkey. And so what if I can't subdivide it into a subdivision someday? I don't want to do that anyways. Right. So it's pretty interesting. And like I said, these folks are there to enroll as much property as they can into this easement to protect it for years to come. I'm okay with that. I like that.
Sure.
They don't want subdivisions built. Cool with me. So there's a lot of common ground, and we really came together because, like I said, the agency it's not like NDA, right? It's not like a gun-ho deer hunter agency. It's pretty interesting. So it's very cool to come together. I spoke with a gentleman today, and he's like, you know what? I came with all your conditions. I changed a lot of stuff. He's like, it's cool working with a landowner, me, who he's like, who gets it. He's like, you kind of can see it. So the way you explained it, we're on board. If you're just talking, I just want to go in there and cut a bunch of trees down. That's a whole different story, right?
Right.
It's almost like how you frame it. But no, long story short, I'm pumped up. It's a lot further drive. That's gonna suck. But it's also like you're going for the weekend, so now you're up there.
Sure.
Okay, I'm in sales. I drive for a living. It's not a big deal. and the deer hunting up north is not as good as it is in the southern part of the state in terms of quantity. There's still some good bucks up there. So it'll be cool. It'll be more of a family property. I figure out what I'm gonna call it. Maybe the family property. I don't know, but I don't think it'll be my last endeavor in land. You and I have talked about this, Jake and Neil, and yeah, like I'll be probably buying land until the day I die, some way or another.
Yeah.
So I'm fired up for this new
Yeah,
project
for
though,
sure.
and now I have an idea. We implement these land plans on our client properties and advise them on what we would do. Well, now it's time to get in the driver's seat and do it on a lot larger scale, 5 times the size of my property or whatever. So it's going to be quite the amount of work ahead of me, buddy.
Absolutely. So what's the status with the 15? Is that on the market currently, or is it going to go on the market?
It's not on the market yet. I'm going to hunt it this year and then figure it out. So
Okay.
my goal has always been, when I bought the first property at 29, I said, I'm going to hold on to it for 5 years at least and see if, it's something I want to keep or not. Cause I want more. So being able to sell that roll the equity into something bigger, like we talked about with Dan Perez way back when. That's always been a goal in the back of my mind. And this is year 5. So it's cool. It's time. So,
Right on schedule.
Right on schedule. Yeah. I'm sure Chad Phelan over at Realtree, he's ready for that thing to be on the market, because I'm sure it'll sell fairly quick. But
Oh yeah, I'm sure in this setting.
A buddy of mine who we know already wants first right of refusal. So we'll see.
Okay. Very cool.
But yeah, and then in terms of, other goals, I don't know if that's where you wanted to go next.
Yep.
Well,
You've got 2 states for sure that you're hunting, right? Well, 3,
yeah.
I guess 3 actually.
Well, if you count Michigan, that's just a given. Get 2 buck tags in Michigan, as many doe tags as we want usually. And so I really would like to shoot a buck on the 15, one more buck out there before I saw it. That'd be really cool. So I'm gonna try to do that, but the cards have to fall the right way. I'm not gonna go over hunt it. I'm not gonna screw around. So it really has to be the precision strike. And then the lease with you, the Ohio test farm. Can't wait for deer camp down there. That's gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah.
I'm bringing the beer since you guys hung all the stands. Corey and I will bring some beer, and I'm gonna hunt mobile too. But you guys have put in so much work being down there and in that area. So I'm bringing the beer. Don't worry about that.
Love it.
That'll be awesome. That's gonna be a good time. I love hunting Ohio. It's not easy. It never has been. And but something about those hills, man. I don't know. So there's that, and then Illinois. I'm going back to Illinois for gun season again. My buddy Jordan still isn't hunting, so he's invited me down. I went down in May. We did some habitat work, put some plots in. Gonna go down there and hunt with his dad and his brother and have a good time. That's a quick 3-day season, but again, Illinois is just magical. There's
Absolutely.
it's the deer there are just there's a lot of them, and you can hunt like you want to hunt. You can see them act natural and do things that our Michigan schizophrenic deer won't even think about doing. So it's kind of cool. And that's more of a deer camp setting too, because it's a gun season and it's 3 days. So I guess I'm in a deer camp. I don't know. I guess I'm just following my way around deer camp. Maybe that'll be the goal, is to have a deer camp in every podcast listener state before we're done here. I don't know.
That's not a bad way to roll in October and November, brother.
Oh, man, I know it's cool. So I mean, if I fill, I'll be ecstatic if I fill a Michigan tag. My standards, I normally shoot one every couple 3 years. It's been 3. Ohio, that'd be cool. I'd love to shoot one down there. Illinois for sure too. Yeah. But I guess probably my number one goal is to get something killed on the 15 again. It's all the work you put in out there. And so what is cool, I do have some bucks showing up. They're not, don't have them patterned yet, unfortunately, but this property has never had deer until mid-October usually, or at least
Yeah.
bucks. There's some doe families that live there. A couple little bucks will show up, but I've already had 3 deer I'd shoot show up, and it's not even October yet. So just goes to show a testament of how this habitat work pays off. If you build it, they will come. Whatever you want to call it. I mean,
Right.
you go from mid to late October deer to late September deer over time. I don't have corn or beans nearby. I mean, it's cool. So, but it makes you also have to play things a little bit smarter. If they're there all the time. I don't care if the deer are not there in January through September. I'd rather they not be.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Pretty fired up.
So what does it take for you to lift your bow off the bow hook in Michigan? Because we've got different ideas for you, and I are in kind of a unique situation where we're kind of, I think you're still on the same page as me. In like our home states, we don't really have the giants running around. So we're kind of a little bit more liberal with our buck tags. And then Ohio and Illinois, obviously, we're going to hold out for something bigger. But what's it going to take in Michigan to get you to get your bow off the bow hook?
Well, great question. I'm with you on the more liberal in this state. There are giants here, not on some of the properties I have access to. I've had some great bucks on mine. I like the 2 bucks that showed up recently. They're probably in the 125 to 135 range. Those are solid deer for Michigan. They're 3-year-olds at least. I'd shoot either one in a heartbeat. If a 120-inch 2-year-old walks out, I don't know, man, he better be careful. So
Game time decision.
yeah, I mean, I'd rather he be 3. I'd
Sure.
rather he be 3. I usually wait for a 3-year-old. I haven't shot a 2-year-old buck in a long time, probably 10 years. But after all that hard work on the property, and you got a nice buck that comes out, and he's, I get excited. So
Yeah.
that's for Michigan. Up north where the new family property is, now that's not going to be a 135, 140 up there. Probably that's going to be more in the 100 to 120 range for a 3-year-old. It's different up there. But like you and I both, we kind of blend to where we hunt. So Ohio, we're trying to hold out for 140s there.
Right.
And then Illinois, same, like a 130 to 140, I'd be tickled pink with, so anywhere in there. I like just big bodied mature deer. I don't really care about the score. At least that's the way I'm starting to trend these days.
Yeah. Yeah. And for everybody listening out there, I always have this disclaimer for new listeners, and we throw these numbers around, and they're really not that important to us, but it just kind of gives everybody a gauge of where we're trying to be. And we've been doing this a long time, so we're kind of picky when it comes to Ohio. We're trying to shoot something in that 140 class or better, but like we say, if something really nice comes by and ends up being a 135, nobody's going to be crying in their bush lights. So just look at your area, look at your experience, look at your own goals, and don't worry about what Jared's shooting or what Brian's shooting or any of the guys on TV. So just have a good time and hunt your own hunt.
Well said. I'm glad you always throw that disclaimer in there. And you guys heard it. We're recording. He said 135 in Ohio now, so I'm on board. So that 140 is now 135. No, I mean, like what we're trying to do there is a little bit different, right? We're trying to develop something long term. The property owner's letting us put in habitat work. You put in a sea container there. We can cut trees. Like a lot of leases, you can't do any of that stuff with.
Yeah,
so,
and the area that it's in, I mean,
yeah,
we haven't seen any legit booners on there, but there have been many booners killed in the area, and the neighbors had some big ones over the years. So there's always that opportunity come end of October, beginning of November. You don't know what's going to roll through there. So we're not going to be flinging arrows at the first 110 that walks by. Just
right.
The way it is.
What's that buck behind you on the wall score? We're for anybody who doesn't know, we're trying to do more video podcasts now. So we're going to put them all on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. So go check that out. But what's that one score behind you from PA?
This one was rated 130 inches.
Yeah, I'm shooting that deer all day long and twice on Sundays, as our friend Al would say.
Yep. Beautiful buck. I'll take it any day of the week, like you said.
Yep. So, I mean, I'd like to shoot a few does, I'd like to dust off the the afflictors and put them through a couple lungs. That's always fun. No problem doing
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, there's something else I was gonna say, but it left already.
Yeah, we've been sharing our big buck picks from the test farm. Not sure if that's the smartest thing to do on social media, but we're trying to keep our followers and listeners involved in everything that we're doing. And
Yep.
you guys are going to see our videos semi live as they come and as we get them uploaded. And we're going to try to bring you some stories live from the stand and when we recover some stuff. So, yeah, looking forward to it. We put together a pretty good team and we're just going to keep plugging away here and try to bring you guys some exciting stuff throughout the season.
Yeah. So speaking of that team, Brian, I know you mentioned it once or twice on some other episodes, but let's just hit that high level real quick. What are you putting together?
Yeah, so I wanted to put together a team that represented different areas of the country instead of everybody getting sick of us talking about Michigan and PA and Ohio. So we've got a couple of guys, one from Wisconsin, one from Indiana. We're going to be doing some stuff in Illinois with you and in Jordan. Got a guy in Iowa that's jumping on the team, maybe two guys in Iowa. And I know there's been some interest from a couple of possible team members there. So it's going to be fun, I think, for our followers. You know, if you're in Indiana and you only hear us talk about Michigan and PA, you're going to be getting a lot of stuff from Indiana here coming up soon, or Iowa or Wisconsin. So it's going to be kind of fun to see how the season progresses in different states and different areas and how the habitat's changing and how the deer are using it. So that's the gist of the series. And hopefully we'll be able to tell a couple good stories along the way.
Yeah, guys, that's our Habitat Journeys series up on YouTube. It's up there already. We've already introduced a couple guys. And Brian, I don't know if did we put Jason from Minnesota on the intro yet?
No.
Yeah, I think their intro is freaking cool. So add
Okay.
one more state to the mix.
There you go.
So we're covering the Midwest, you know.
Absolutely. And still adding team members and seeing where this is going to go. So it's going to be pretty exciting.
Heck yeah. Well, I appreciate all the work you're doing there. You do a great job. Your editing skills are awesome. And you know, like I edit too. So like I know how much of a pain in the butt it is and how hard it is. And if anybody ever wants to help with some editing, let us know. We're always on board. But we're really trying to grow the brand, guys. We've been doing this a couple, 3 years now, and we're going big with this thing. So, you know, any feedback you guys want to give us, let us know. You won't hurt our feelings. I promise. There's a lot bigger things in life that hurt my feelings besides some feedback. So please let us know what you want to see in podcast episodes, what you want to see on YouTube. You know, we want to do some more listener interaction, you know, coming up over the fall here. So feel free, guys. This is you know, our Habitat Nation, if you will, the whatever we want to kind of cornerly call it here. It's all about you guys. It's not just about us. Just like the very beginning, we're all here learning together from episode 1. So keep this going, and please speak up if you want to see something more or less different. So that's all.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in, and we do enjoy the good feedback. I mean, we get a lot of it and we appreciate that. But like Jared said, we like the bad stuff too. We don't get much of it. And I'm not just saying that, but when we do, it's kind of nice to sit back and say, hey, this guy didn't like this. Maybe we can tweak this and try to make it better for somebody that's maybe seen it from a different angle. So definitely keep that stuff coming. And we appreciate everybody out there and everything you do for us.
Oh, wow. Here comes the hate mail, bro. No, Brian, it was great catching up, buddy. We don't do this often enough. You know, we live so far away from each other, but it's always great to catch up. And hey, buddy, deer season's here. So good luck to the listeners. Hope you all get to hit your goals this year. Check a few boxes, and you know, remember, thank God for being in the woods, and just enjoy yourself, because there's a lot worse things we could be doing.
Amen. So. Good luck, everybody.